Hey everyone, this is Steve from Echo following up on our last video. So next up on the production pipeline is the key animation process. If you were a lead or a key animator, then you'd get something like this, and these are the layouts. Now layouts, just to review, are the embellishments of storyboards, and they have a lot more detail in terms of background, prop and character placement, and sometimes the lighting. Now, in many of today's productions, the shots that you would receive would already have timing set to them. The thing to understand though is that uh, the layout timing would be set to whatever was in the story reel, but it's really the animator's responsibility to figure out the timing for the performances. So what you get isn't always set in stone. Now, prior to doing any drawing, my recommendation has always been to do the timing first. And I didn't show that here just to save on time and probably show you that in another video. But you do the timing first. And the reason you do that is because it gets you to start thinking ahead about what you're going to draw in terms of animation. I mean, you're already thinking about the animation the moment you start plotting down your arcs and trying to figure out, well, do I want to ease in out of this? Do I want to, ease into, another pose? Do I want to have, a smoother arc? Do I want to have a quicker, range of motion and all that? Um, and again, prior to to drawing anything first, uh, I've always told animators, whether it was to on three delivery or when I was working on Ugly Americans, is just to act it out. You act out what's in the shot. Even if it's a kung fu show like Three Delivery, uh, just take a second and just work it out physically. Get to understand what's happening on a physical level. You can feel the weight of a punch or even a walk, or if there's a character acting out dialogue. You get to understand, well, where should I really emphasize the acting in the performance of the character or the prop even. And you would do that with a stopwatch, or if you'd want to record yourself doing that, uh, you can feel the nuances that are taking place, and that is what helps you create a more believable and convincing performance, rather than just going straight ahead from the pose that's been given out. You really need to think ahead about what you're doing, and then once you have that acting in your mind, you've practiced it a few times, and you've already had sort of a general idea of how you want the timing to go. You're going back and forth a lot. Then you can go down and start jotting down which frames are going to are going to take place here. uh, However, the thing that I've come to realize is that when you're plotting out your timing and your spacing, it's not always going to be exactly what you want, and that's okay. The key process of animating is sort of that experimental stage. That's where you can really have some fun animating. Is you're trying out new things. After you've performed stuff out, and you've set your time chart. And maybe certain things can move a lot faster, or things could slow down a bit. That's where you get to really play around with the range of motion. So what I've done here is I've already acted out, the hand opening up. And with my stopwatch, I click at random parts to see where is the most changing. Or I'd even slow it down, by myself without a stopwatch, and just like see, well, where's the most change happening, and at what point. What would be confusing too, because you also need to think that there is somebody who's going to be coming after you if you're in a larger production, or if you're working in stages with a client. You want to put down the most important parts that tell the story, or that tell the performance, or drive the performance, excuse me. And again, it's not going to come off perfect the first time around. It's very experimental. Animation is a fine art, and it takes time to master. So just to recap, to get better timing, better spacing, you want to act out your shot or scene. Nothing will be exact the first time, and you can always adjust things later. But once you do have satisfying keys and breakdowns, then you can go back to your timing chart and start getting precise about where you want your in betweens, and whether they're going to be easing in or easing out. Something to keep in mind though is that animation is a very collaborative effort, and sometimes we tend to rely a little too much on the next person. But if we want our productions to start going a little bit smoother and you want to become an invaluable member to your team, the best thing to do is to have solid drawings. And you get that by going to life drawing or doing life drawings on your own. Life drawing sets us by ourselves. We get to see how much we know and how much we don't know. And once we have a solid drawing foundation to work from, then we can just focus on performance. One clear drawing can be more helpful than 6 undefined drawings. Now what I'm doing is I'm playing back my keys and breakdowns, and then I'm going to go back and plot out where I want my in-betweens to go and pass it on to the next person in line.